Thursday. It's going to be an absolute incredible show because I'm back with my man, Justin. We're going to be talking about everything. We're going to be talking about the Mouse House, Disney. How about those numbers? How about that earnings report? I'll tell you what, Iger's still got it. He's got the magic. Oh, and by the way, how about the crypto world? Coinbase, CEO might have sold a few shares. Wow. We'll cover that and a whole lot more with sports and everything else. We'll be right there, ready to roll. All right. I'm excited again. I got my man, Justin, Honolulu, Hawaii. How you doing, brother?
Oh, doing great as always, Pete. Happy to be here.
Hang loose, man. I mean, that's the way you got to do it, right? I love it. I'm just so jealous about where you are and what you're doing. And shoot, your trading day, you're done before noon, man. That's not so bad.
Yeah.
I like the timing of that. I like it a lot. I'm thinking you might be seeing me there not too long from now. So I'm getting excited about that. That should be a lot of fun. We ready to get after this thing today?
Absolutely. Yeah, totally. Let's do it.
All right, let's hit the macro minute. And I think what I want to do real quick is just say this. You know, we talk about macro. What's the biggest macro thing of today? Yesterday, we started to get some more data. Today, I think what really stands out for me is just looking at the 10-year, how that thing's been trading. It's been very interesting to watch. Here we are right now at a 440. Everybody's been concerned about that. It hasn't broken us down yet, but it's something I think everybody ought to keep a really close eye on. Since the election, we've had this pop. We'll see if it starts to drop significantly or not. But right now, the 10-year is sitting right at a 4.4.
Yeah, mine real simple. PPI comes in 2.4 versus 2.3. Little hot, not a huge deal. Jobless claims come in a little lower than expected. Looks like a bit of economic strength, but in the face of possible growing inflation worries, could be something that people start to talk about. Could impact the 10-year.
Oh, I love it. All right, next up, we're going to do Fantastic Futures. With Fantastic Futures, here's what I'd like to talk about just for a second here. How about Bitcoin, man? I mean, honestly, 68,000 before the election, and now all of a sudden, the next thing you know, we're at 93,000. Now, we've pulled back today. We're down to almost 4.5%. I think we were at about 88,000, but nonetheless, this has been a staggering move to the upside. You know, they had a full day in the first 90 minutes in terms of volume in that world of Bitcoin. So something to keep a real close eye on because there is a lot of exchange going on and a lot of people are moving around. What do you think? And what about the Fantastic Futures from your perspective?
I think Bitcoin's probably going to make it to that 100K or a couple bucks shy of it and then loiter there for a really long time, a lot longer than a lot of people wanted to hang out. And from my Fantastic Future, I have a weird one. This isn't a futures. It's happening in the future. This is a stock that I've actually seen some UOA on a few times here. ATAI Life Sciences. They have a lot of catalysts coming up. I don't have time to get real deep into it, but I talked about it in the Rebel Roundup. And if you're not a Rebel Roundup subscriber, you should check it out. Because there's a lot of reasons to get into biotech stocks before these catalysts if you think you have an edge.
And I'll tell you, some serious UOA in there as well. So we've seen some options telling us a little bit of the direction people are maybe leaning towards right now. Should be interesting. All right, let's jump into it right now. We got Disney. Now, Disney, I'll tell you what, Iger has really shown who he is, what he is, why he's such a great CEO. The only mistake, and I actually asked him about this on TV years ago, the only mistake I've ever seen him really make in a big way, and this was a problem, they could have bought Netflix back in the day. And when I say bought Netflix, it was at the time, it was between $60 and $70 a share. Gives you a little bit of an idea. They decided not to do that. They decided to go on it on their own. And that was, I think, a huge mistake. Other than that, though, Iger has been absolutely amazing. He came back and he's absolutely got the company moving in the right direction. When you look at that operating income, I'm looking at it right now. Last year, they lost $387 million. This year, they made $321 million. Not so bad. Streaming revenue, that was up 13%. I look at these numbers. I look at the guidance. I look at all of the numbers. There's not much here that looks very negative to me right now, Justin. I'm looking at a $3 billion share buyback as well. They did a lot of things right, and that's why that stock spiked very, very nicely today. It got all the way up over 114.
Yeah, advertising expected to be up a ton in 2025. They guided up there. Subs are up like 60% since the start of 2021. That's great. And hey, if they did buy Netflix rather than buying Hulu, they probably would have ended up uh, a lot more ahead than they are now. But hey, they're managing things how they should be. And this is my shameless segue to mention that the Tyson Paul fight is tomorrow. A lot of people are going to be watching it. It's a Netflix specific exclusive thing. Betting odds have it for Paul. I'm rooting for Tyson. I don't know if you have a take on it, Pete.
My only take with I love Tyson. I love everything about him. The guy came from, just an unbelievable background and turned himself into what he has become, which I think is one of the greatest heavyweights of all time. Probably not quite over Ali, but damn close. The guy is really a special person. So my heart's with him. And my heart's also with everybody coming out of that thing healthy. All right, next up. Yeah. We got ourselves some NU holding in front of us right now, right? I mean, this one's pretty interesting because there was a downgrade to market perform. That hit and the price target of $15. Well, that's right around where the stock was. So not looking for a big move. Well, they didn't get a huge move, although I will say this, the move that they did get pushed the stock down. But this is a stock that actually was hovering not too far off of the 52-week highs. They came in line with the earnings. The revenue was a beat. I think when you look across and you see most everything, I look at the PE would be the only thing in this stock right now that would concern me at all. It's a little bit high, not a lot high, but a little bit high. I like this name. I think it can explode back up and through over time. Warren Buffett must think the same thing. But what do you think about this one? This had volume, by the way, that was double normal average in the first 90 minutes again. This is it shows you how much volume really is in the market right now.
Yeah, that's something that I think is a trend that we're going to see continue to happen, because this is not the only stock that we've seen this in. And you just talked about it with Bitcoin too. Throughout the end of the year, I really do think that the volume is definitely coming back. With NU, 25,000 December 14 strike puts were, somebody bought these on October 28th, not too long ago. Looks like they're probably getting paid a little bit, and it'll be interesting to see whether they stay in those or whether they exit that position.
Yeah, that's going to be really interesting. And it's something we're going to keep an eye on for sure. All right, Coinbase. Coinbase is an interesting one because I'm looking at the stock. Here's what the stock has done. Pre-election, it was 194, right? I mean, 194. All right. The day, give or take, that Trump was able to, make sure that he got himself into position, did get the winning votes, it got up to $254. Then this week it hit $334. Now this is a $194 stock that now is trading $334. I mean, that's an amazingly rapid move to the upside. Now it's 284. It's pulling back. And oh, by the way, the chairman seemed to have a pretty good link to what he wanted to do. He sold 325,000 shares of Coinbase. The CEO, Brian Armstrong, very, very nice. Between 300 and 314. That, I think, is important, folks, because I think when you see somebody who's an insider who makes a decision like this, I don't think this was something that was one of those automated things. I think this was a decision that was made. And when you see something like this, it tells me that when you get over 300, maybe that's an area that maybe starts to get lightened up. Maybe it's time to buy puts, something like that. But the run with Bitcoin on this performance, we talked about 68,000 to 93,000. Now it's 88,000. This is a stock that has really gone very, very closely with Bitcoin for a while now. What do you think about this one? I think at 284, it might be interesting, but anything much over 300, I think I'd have to start making a little bit of a decision on that as well, Justin.
Yeah, it's really interesting because I personally was using this for a while as a sort of Bitcoin parallel, a way to essentially trade Bitcoin with options, right? And I was following you away in that, and we've traded the hell out of this to the upside, to the downside, and all around in a few different services. But yeah, it starts to be a little bit alarming when you see Bitcoin doing well and Coinbase still pulling back like yesterday. So that's definitely in combination with C-suite members of Coinbase management starting to lighten up on shares. It's a little bit alarming. We'll probably look at managing some of those trades today in Coinbase.
Yep, makes some sense. All right. Super microcomputer. Now, this is an interesting stock, SMCI. This one is pretty crazy. The movements that we've seen here. I mean, here's what it is. It's a $17.36 was the 52-week lows. By the way, that was today. The highs were 122.90. So it gives you a little bit of an idea of the direction of this stock, and the plummeting that this thing has gone through has been absolutely unbelievable to watch as it's gone through. Now, the possibilities of delisting this, that's unfortunately something that could happen very, very soon because of the fact that they have had their issues. They didn't put out the quarterly report. They're talking about what they need to do. They've got problems with the auditor, all of this. They got potential lawsuits with NVIDIA. This could be a pretty interesting problem for SMCI. What do you think about this one? And is there any reason to take a flyer on calls, or is this a stock that you just need to maybe back away from? What do you think, Justin?
Man, I wouldn't touch this with a 1,000-foot pole. I personally, I love a flyer on some crappy performing stock. For this one, SMCI actually got delisted before for the same reason back in 2018. They weren't filing their stuff. Sounds like they're cool with it. Sounds like they're about to get delisted again. I think this is a name that I personally would not want to try and catch the falling knife on. And this is also one that we tried to we shorted this back when it was pre-split in the 700 zone, and we had identified this massive volume gap between 650 and 350. Looks like we're well through that post-split adjusted whatever, but damn, yeah, this is not looking good for SMCI. I would try to be out of this if possible.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's a little bit of UOA in there, right? I mean, that's
Yes.
pretty interesting to see. Oh, maybe a little more than a little bit. How about this? I mean, if that doesn't say it all, when you're looking at options, you got to go back a ways to get anything on the buy side, and that was already expired, right? So then all of a sudden you start looking, and it's like, okay, some bearish put buying, stock was 33. Bearish put buying, stock was 26. Bearish put buying, stock was 22.50. And today we're sitting there hitting a 52-week low of somewhere near that 1730 area. So I'd say that the UOA was pretty good on this one.
Yeah.
Yep, it's a crazy ride sometimes, but I'll tell you what, this UOA, unusual option activity, does tell you a lot. And I think in this case, it really was telling. All right, we're going to jump to some sports now. We got some fun stuff here. I've got Notre Dame, and how Notre Dame is outsmarting everybody else because of the fact, and this is something that we're seeing all these shifts in these conferences, right? We've seen teams like California and Stanford going all the way to the ACC, which makes no sense because that stands for Atlantic Coast Conference, right? This is two teams that are schools that are sitting on the Pacific Coast, by the way. So we're seeing that. We're seeing SC, UCLA, Oregon, Washington. Now they're in the Big Ten. But independent is what Notre Dame is, and they've been independent for a heck of a long time. They're not in a conference. Well, they've got their own they got their own network with NBC. They've got contracts with them. But how about this one, Justin? And this one is really interesting for me. When you look at this team, and nobody else could do this. If you were in a conference, there's no way this could be accomplished. And that's why I wanted to just hit on this real quick. The Irish have 8 home games in a row. That just doesn't happen in college sports. Usually, Michigan's got to go to Ohio State. The next year, Ohio State comes to Michigan and blah, blah, blah. You might have 3 home games. You might even have up to 4. But I have never in my lifetime witnessed somebody in any part of college sports, college football specifically, having 8 games in a row at home. I mean, how do you do that? It's absolutely amazing. Plus, they've got their own TV network. Not so bad. It's a pretty good football team. They made a mistake, a big stumble against Northern Illinois, and that was early. Since then, they have been absolutely dominant. They're scoring 38 points a game. They're the number 12th ranked defense or offense that there is. Their defense has played really well. They're number 3 ranked in points allowed. So they're doing everything right. But I think that home field advantage is sort of something that people probably need to investigate into this thing and say, hey, this can't happen in the future. What do you think of something like this? Is it fair that because they're an independent and they've got their own network that follows them, is all of that fair, do you think, in today's college sports world?
Is it fair? Maybe not, but is it making them money and probably helping them play better?
Yep.
That's probably the answer, right? They have a really, really big worldwide fan base too.
Yeah.
It's a crazy reach for a college team. Really, really interesting, and it's probably about all those brand deals and TV network deals that they've done. So, yeah, man, if I was doing 8 home games in a row, having all my friends, family, and all the others rooting for me every night, just crushing over and over again, I'd want to keep that momentum going too.
Yeah, I think everybody would want to. I don't really have a huge opinion on it. Things just happen, they happen or whatever, but it seems like a pretty nice advantage. And so you got to give them credit. Yeah, the AD and everybody, the president of the university there, all of them. I mean, they've been able to do things that nobody else has been able to do. And it's because, I think, like you just said, because of the world, the global side of Notre Dame football. It's not just in the United States. It extends far, far further out. Matter of fact, I was out there in France, and I was right there at Notre Dame looking at that whole thing. And it's a special thing. And people are very, very, they lean towards Notre Dame. There's no doubt. All right, next up, we got Heisman. So I just got a quick question. I know you're not the biggest sports guy in the world, and I know you're not the biggest college football guy in the world. And I probably am a pretty big college football and NFL football guy. But I always want to see what sounds fair. So you probably, because of, you watch a little bit less than I do and everything else, I think you could be very fair on this. So who deserves the Heisman Trophy? So the number one candidate right now is a guy named Travis Hunter, plays at Colorado, plays both ways. I give him all the credit in the world for that. He plays cornerback on defense and plays wide receiver on offense. He's got some nice numbers. He's got 850 yards, 9 touchdowns as a receiver. He's also got 21 tackles and a couple of interceptions. Those are good, but not great numbers. Those are good, but not great. And he does play more snaps than anybody in college football because he plays on both sides of the ball. But this kid, Ashton Gentry, all right, he's at Boise State. He is breaking just about every record rushing that anybody ever put up there. So 224 carries, 1,700 yards rushing the football. He's got 23 touchdowns. Now, Travis Hunter's got 9 touchdowns. This guy's got 23 touchdowns running the ball. He catches the ball pretty well. They don't throw him the ball that often. He's got 1 touchdown there. But this kid plays for Boise State, and he looks and runs like Barry Sanders. And I can tell you, as a guy who played in that era, and I had to play Detroit, and Barry Sanders was on the field, he might be the most intimidating running back you'd ever have to go up against, because Barry Sanders was fast. He was low to the ground. He was strong. His legs were like tree trunks. He was unbelievable balance like nobody I've ever seen. This kid's probably the closest thing to Barry I've seen since Barry Sanders, and I'm going back to the late 1980s to get this guy. So I think he's special, but given the numbers I gave you, and there's a lot said for a guy who goes both ways on the football field, though. That is special. Not too many people can do it because you're playing 85, 90 snaps in a game. I mean, that's incredible. What do you think? Who should win the Heisman?
Well, first of all, you're talking about a young guy who's breaking all kinds of records. I obviously innately want to lean towards that. But second of all, I know that you are an expert in this. You're literally a pro athlete. So I'm tending to lean towards who I think that you're leaning towards, because I trust your take on this. And so for that reason, I'd probably go with Ashton. He sounds like he deserves it.
I think it's tough not to go there. There's so many other names. There's betting lines on everything these days, right? And there's betting lines on the Heisman Trophy, who's going to win it, and all the rest of it. But there's some great people. Matter of fact, the quarterback at Oregon is unreal. But is it him or is it their whole team? I think it might be the whole team and him. But you never really know. But he's thrown a lot of yards. He's thrown for a lot of touchdowns. They're the number one team in the country, and he's a big reason why they are. But he gets a lot of help from an offensive line that's big, strong, and maybe the best in college football. Running backs, receivers. I mean, they've kind of got it all at Oregon this year. So that's why they're undefeated and they're number one. But yeah, Ashton Gentry, I think that kid is pretty special. All right. Hey, Justin, I appreciate you taking the time. I love it. Rebels Edge appreciates you too. And we look forward to doing this next week. And if John is out, you are in, my friend.
That's amazing. I can't wait.
Have a great one, folks.